Welcome to the SiGMA Roadshow that stops in Germany today. The topic of today's webinar is looking at Germany as a safe and sustainable market from a responsible gaming and business perspective. My name is Willem van Oort. I'm a strategic consultant for the iGaming industry and the founder of the business platform for gaming in Germany. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the SiGMA organization for hosting this webinar at a crucial point in time. Thank you in particular Emma Poulis, Jeremy Mekalev, and John Kowalczyk. To start with, I would like to mention that this webinar was recorded a few weeks ago, and some of the developments in the meantime could make some of our questions and answers slightly outdated. The re-regulation of online gambling in Germany has created many new rules and regulations that licensed operators will need to meet. Many of these rules have practical effects that undermine some of the policy objectives. We'll be looking at some of these effects that impact the business in the future. The expert speaker for this is Mauro de Fabritis, founder at the boutique consultancy firm MDF Partners, who have a strong track record in the regulated iGaming jurisdictions. Not only have they helped the industry, but also regulators know how to find them. The rules in Germany also include a good starting point for a safe game offering and creating an environment where potential gambling harm is reduced. For this topic, I'm very pleased to have Rasmus Kjærgaard, CEO of Mindway AI from Denmark, here in this webinar. Hello and welcome, Mauro. Welcome, Rasmus. How are you today?
Welcome, Willem. Fine, thanks.
Hello, Willem. Very well, thanks.
Let's start with the first question to you both. What is your reflection on the German regulation, taking your field of expertise into consideration?
Thank you for the question, Willem. I think that we should see the German regulation process as something that is at the end of a general regulatory process that involved more than 20 countries in Europe. And from operators' perspective, at the time of entering a new regulated market, it's important to do a careful evaluation of the benefit and costs of entering the countries, looking at the general topic of economic sustainability of the market. In this sense, I would segment the German regulation in 5 key areas that we should look at: the responsible gaming and advertising, the control and operator requirements, the market requirements, the product offer, and the taxation. I would say that it's clear that responsible gambling is one of the biggest trends in Europe, and has been taken in seriously consideration in the regulation of Germany through automated RG system, for example, through the cross-operator deposit limits with a maximum of 1,000 euro per month cross operators, with the prohibition of parallel play, the introduction of the panic button, and some temporary limits like the 1 minute between gaming session in different products, the 5 minutes break after a playing time of 1 hour, and the 1 hour break to pass to use winnings from one product to another. The second key area is the control and technical system, and we have something new in the German regulation through the publication of the information, the technical requirements, that operators will have to fulfill, based essentially in 2 functions: the evaluation system and the central files. So the first one will allow operators to be connected through safe servers implemented by operators according to the technical guidelines of the Saxony Anhalt. And the regulator will be able to evaluate the data collecting from the gambling providers. And the central files will allow operators to be compliant with deposit limits and prevent parallel gambling with several gaming providers. For the third area, I see the market requirements. And in terms of specific requirements for Germany, everything is quite aligned to other jurisdictions and no specific elements to be mentioned. Regarding the product, I should say there are some limitations according to my view compared to other countries in terms of casino product. For example, the table games offer is missing in the online offer and related only to the brick and mortar, and some limitations regarding the amount of money that could be spent, and also in the offer of live betting. Last point, taxation. I will not add for the moment specific comments, but the current level of taxation is really unsustainable, in my opinion, for the operator, and could compromise and be risky for the channeling.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. A lot of insight here. Rasmus, your reflections, please.
Yes, thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you for giving me the opportunity to give my reflections here. At Mindway AI, our field of expertise is 100% scientific-based focus on responsible gambling knowledge and solutions based on the combination of AI and neuroscience research, very much centered around our co-founder, Professor Kim Moritzen. So in this regard, our main focus here is scientific-based player profiling and monitoring detection systems. And seen from this perspective, I think that you can draw very clear parallels from the German regulation to other regulated markets as Denmark, Netherlands, and Sweden, for instance. As a Danish company, we have worked with the Danish regulation for several years, and this strong regulation focus has been enforced lately as Birgitte Sand, former Director General of the Danish Gambling Authority, was elected to our board of directors. Now, to meet the regulation in Germany regarding detection and monitoring player behavior, the operator, on one hand, has the obligations to detect and to intervene if problems are found, to do something about it, so to speak. This, on the other hand, comes with a number of organizational and operational challenges, because how do you do that in practical day-to-day operation, even with thousands of customers in your database? Not least to mention that regulators want detection and intervention done earlier and earlier and more effective all the time. From what we have experienced, an overall wish list, which you see at the screen now, of such detection setups could be made to meet these operational changes of detection systems. So what we have found and what we discuss with operators all around the world currently is that a detection solution should be automated. It should be based on an individualized approach, not the regular or very common group approaches. It should be based on a state-of-the-art scientific knowledge and also being updated all the time. If it is an AI-based solution, it should be explainable. AI solutions very often tend to be kind of black magic, and we don't see that as very interesting in the future and even relevant. We think that a solution should be independently developed and maintained by a third party. And we also think that detection solutions should, the performance of such should be independently validated. So that's my consideration in this regard and reflection on that.
Thank you for your reflections to both of you, Rasmus and Mauro. Really interesting and some good insights here. Now, looking forward, how will the German market compare with other markets you're active in? Mauro.
Yeah, it's interesting to make this comparison because Germany comes maybe with the final regulation after 20 years compared to other regulated markets. As advisors of regulators on the one hand and of operators, we had the opportunity to look at the different perspective. And what I see as a big picture is that the regulation process has moved through different phases. A first phase of regulation, a second phase that is a phase running in the last, let's say, 5 years, where the different countries are re-regulating their model because of the evolution in technology, because of the evolution on customer trends, and so on. And nowadays, Germany is in a phase where the German regulation model is based on the common trends at European level, linked to specific topics like the specific measures in order to protect the customers and avoid risky behavior, the limitation in the advertising, and some other barriers that makes the entrance of operators in the market more difficult and with more barriers. So what I see in the regulation model of Germany compared to some countries that we take under our radar as a benchmark, like Sweden, Italy, Spain, and France, are essentially 3 elements that I can summarize. The first one is an innovative approach regarding the responsible gambling that is not purely linked to the attitude and to the policies of operators, but is managed centrally with a centralized way through the regulator. The second point, and it's really innovative compared to other countries. The second point is related to taxation. That is something that needs to be modified and essentially reduced compared to other countries. And the third one is the product. We need a more complete product for the German market, and we have to avoid some limitations in the betting, especially in order to have a competitive and attractive environment for customers.
Thank you, Mauro. Reflecting on this, Rasmus, how do you see the German market comparing with other markets that you're active in?
Yeah, to compare, we from current conversations and collaboration with the German license applicants, both current and hopefully future clients of us, we have a very good confirmation that the wish list I talked about before also apply for scientific-based detection systems for the German market. And our approach to this is quite different that we see traditionally. First and foremost, we are building our solution, the game scanner, to become what we call a virtual psychologist for each operator. So that's taking the research foundation we are based on into day-to-day operation, what I talked about before. We do that by using human experts assessing a number of gamblers' full gambling behavior from a lot of different data sources, including the gambling platform and monetary data. So we are, in our approach, considering the full picture of a gambling behavior. Once launched, the virtual psychologist, you see the example on the screen now, runs automatically in the operator's own IT environment, and the full customer database gives the operator these individualized profiles day in and day out. And from this, there are a number of benefits. First and foremost, the algorithm gets the human assessment as a very strong target, utilizing all the strong sides of AI in responsible gambling for the AI solution to be explainable. This very strong target is also an advantage compared to other AI setups, typically based on either self-exclusion or self-assessments. These seems to be more unclear targets in what we have found in terms of AI algorithms. And then last, the challenges of manually and not individualized approaches based on risk markers, groups, thresholds, rule-based setups is also something I think may belonging to the past, because typically these setups only find the most severe cases and not the weaker signs, and they also come with the well-known challenges of a lot of false positives and negatives in your detection. So with our approach confirmed also being feasible and relevant for the German market, we see the example of the risk scores of a customer database on the screen now. With our approach, we're able to do more precise and automated profiling, both on the overall customer database level and on the individual player level. We're able to also detect very early signs of changes to a more risky gambling behavior. For instance, when the game scanner detects a customer turning from green to yellow in this traffic light analogy, or even the weaker signs even before going from green to yellow. And this early detection gives operators the opportunity to do intervention a lot earlier compared to risk marker or manually based approaches. Such early intervention should preferably be done automatically to be able to do it on all customer database. Of course, in a balanced way in terms of the taking both RG and the operator's business into consideration. The final thing I would add is that our approach has also been tested and validated by GLI, the well recommended and well known testing company. To our understanding, this is the first time any detection system has had such a test and validation anywhere in the world. And the results were great. As we see it, at least in 87% of the cases, Game Scanner identified problematic gambling behavior versus manual assessment. And taking both at-risk and problematic gambling behavior into consideration, 99% of the cases was identified by Game Scanner compared to manual assessment. Yeah.
Thank you for this extensive answer, Rasmus. Very clear. Now, looking a bit at the future here, this is the last question for the webinar. What specific recommendations do you both have to make the market more sustainable? Mauro?
Yeah, thanks, Willem. There are different recommendations, but in order to set a priority, I see the taxation is the big issue for the German market. In the case of Germany, and focusing on this topic, we can see that Germany has one of the highest taxes in Europe, and this is something that can have a big impact in the market attractivity and sustainability. While Germany's fourth state treaty on gambling has been approved by all 16 states and will come into force the 1st of July, tax rates have not been finalized yet. And there are two bodies, the German industry body, DSWV, and the European Gaming and Betting Association, that have filed to EU state aid compliant against the country's federal council, arguing that proposed gaming tax rates offer an unfair advantage to land-based operators. So this is something under discussion and that we will have to monitor. On our personal experience as MDF partners, I should say that there is a level of correlation between the channeling and the taxation. And average speaking, in Europe, we have a level of taxation that it's around 20% on GGR, and this could be considered the suitable level for the market to be affordable and attractive, and also the level that will help the correct channeling of the market. With the taxation like the 5.3% on the turnover as defined for Germany, it's really critical and complicated to configure a suitable offer in order to address the customer preferences towards the regulated offer instead of the unregulated and irregular offer. And the level of channeling will be seriously affected. On our estimations, what I see is that the level of channeling could be the highest as possible if the taxation will be reduced and the market in a 4-5 years period could overcome the 3.5 billion euros in terms of GGR and represent the second or the third market in Europe. Of course, taxation is not the unique drivers we should move. There are other elements like the improvement of the offer, as I said before, including the table games in the offer and removing some limits regarding the virtual slots of €1, for example. But with a step-by-step process, I think that the Saxony-Anhalt regulator will be in the condition to improve, modify the model. Thank you.
Great, and thank you, Mauro. Wrapping this up, also from your side, Erasmus, what recommendations do you have to make the market more sustainable?
Yeah, let me give four specific recommendations seen from my perspective. First and foremost, I think operators could have a good opportunity to make the market more sustainable, to change the focus on player profiling from the current group focus to an individualized approach, illustrated with the example of a specific player profile on the screen now. And based on that, change the approach to interventions from only the severe cases to soft and automated intervention a lot earlier. Based on this individual approach, making the soft automated intervention initiatives more relevant, because then we're able to do this in context with the specific individual customer profile, or at least the specific customer groups. I also think it may be important for operators to be inspired from research or providers like us with the scientific based DNA to keep up the pace to meet the future requests and requirements of more and more scientific backing on responsible gambling. And the last part is to be innovative in how you approach responsible and sustainable gambling going forward. Currently, I think there's a great opportunity for all operators to do that little extra on RG to enhance their image, not only with regulators, but also externally with customers and future customers, and internally, and not least to mention with the employees, and especially the younger generation XYZ employees. An example of such innovation could be our Game Alive self-test. This has been developed based on neuroscience research, and you see a short example on the screen now. This solution copes with the challenges we know from the typical self-test questionnaire and sensitive questions not being engaging and not really actionable. So that will be my four specific recommendations, Willem.
Great. We actually finished exactly in the time here, and I would like to thank Rasmus and Mauro for answering these extensive questions and this participation to this webinar, the Roadshow in Germany. With this, we've come to the end of this SiGMA webinar. I hope you find it useful. We will also share a link to this webinar in the next Gaming in Germany newsletter, and I look forward to seeing you in person very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Willem.
Thank you.
Thank you.